Chapter 4, Building Eberron Adventures, Sharn. Adventures in Sharn Chapter 3 describes the city of Sharn in detail. The following sections focus on the adventures that can happen there. These adventures can unfold among the tallest towers of Skyway, in the deepest depths of the cogs, or anywhere in between. At the end of this chapter is an introductory adventure, Forgotten Relics, set in Sharn. Sharn can be a grim place that makes good people bad and bad people worse. In its mean streets, gritty detectives contend with corrupt law officers, while trying to foil the efforts of merciless gangs and monstrous thugs. In the highest towers, wealthy barons from the Dragonmarked houses make shady deals with crime bosses, each of them making profits by exploiting both the ordinary folk and the well-heeled upper crust alike. Corruption can be found among the ranks of government, the Watch, the temples, and large businesses. This atmosphere makes Sharn a perfect location for adventures inspired by the noir genre. Sharn can also be a place of unrelenting action, ranging from sorcelled speeding between the tower tops to confrontations in the dungeon depths far beneath the city's lowest tier. Fallen angels, sinister shapeshifters, and monstrous mercenaries do battle with heroes from all walks of life, while unscrupulous collectors and smugglers carry on a brisk trade in artifacts brought back from the Cyclopean ruins of Zendrick. All these factors make Sharn an equally ideal location for adventures inspired by pulp action. You can use the Life in the City table to generate ideas for adventures set in Sharn. Life in the City table. Roll a d6 for an adventure seed. 1. A homicidal changeling has killed 2 members of different Dragonmarked houses, and doesn't plan to stop until one heir from each of the Dragonmarked houses is dead. 2. A jeweled statuette has fallen into the hands of House Tarkin, and a powerful member of the Aurum will stop at nothing to obtain it. The statuette's real worth lies in the secret plans hidden inside it. 3. A Kanathi undead soldier troubled by sporadic memories of his former life is trying to locate his wife and family, who have fled Kanath and now live somewhere in the lower districts of Sharn. 4. A shifter shopkeeper in Lower Northedge is being harassed by ruffians who believe that she and her family are lycanthropes. 5. A Dragonmarked baron is found dead in her upper central mansion, seemingly a victim of some sort of ritual slaying. Outside help is needed to solve this delicate matter. 6. A Radiant Idol, see Chapter 6, has formed a cult that attracts professors and staff of Morgrave University, promising them knowledge beyond imagining in exchange for their worship. Home sweet home. If you're creating a campaign based in Sharn, it's a good idea to establish a location that serves as a home base for the adventurers. You can use the home base table as a source of inspiration, or you can develop a unique location. Work with the players to develop the connections that each character has to the site. If the location is a tavern, for instance, a bard character might perform there 2 nights a week. A fighter could be a regular who has a drink named after them. A ranger could be the undefeated champion of the local darts league. If the players enjoy this creative exercise, you could also allow each player to add a physical detail to the place, or to describe one of the location's NPC, the stuffed gorgon head over the hearth, another regular among the customers, and so on. This is a way to make this location truly feel like home, and to give each player a personal investment in it. This location becomes an automatic starting point for adventures, the place where the adventurers will meet with patrons and conduct business. The home base table can also be useful to determine the venue if a patron wants to set up a meeting at a neutral location. The streets of Sharn. The street events tables, starting with Lower Sharn street events, are filled with random events the characters can witness while they wander around Sharn. You can expand on an entry to make it the start of an encounter or adventure, though not every event needs to draw the characters into a longer story. Each table is meant to be used on a different level of Sharn: the lower wards, middle wards, upper wards, and Skyway. You can choose results from the tables or randomly determine what happens, and you can modify results as you please, tailoring the details of an event to be a better fit for a particular district. The events on the tables are phrased so they can be read aloud or summarized to players. What happens next? After the adventurers witness an event on the streets of Sharn, what happens next depends largely on what they do. Maybe they avert their eyes and keep walking, as many residents of Sharn have trained themselves to do. Maybe they rush to get involved or poke around delicately to learn more. An event like one of these doesn't have to be the start of an adventure, but it can be, particularly if it really catches your player's imagination. When the players decide to learn more, it's up to you to figure out what they can discover. Ask yourself these questions. How did the people involved in this event get to this place? What were they doing earlier today? Where were they going when this event happened? Why isn't anyone else getting involved? What is complicating this situation? What do the people involved hope is going to happen next? What are they afraid might happen next? How are the circumstances changed because the characters have witnessed the event? Home base table. Roll a d12 to determine location. 1. The Drunken Dragon, Clifftop, Upper Dura, is a tavern frequented by members of the Clifftop Adventurers Guild. It has a wide selection of spirits, and its walls are covered with adventuring trophies. The owner, a middle-aged halfling named Haskell D. Calanda, is a former adventurer who lost an eye and a leg in Zendrick. He always has a story to share. 2. The Anvil, Calistan, Lower Dura, was one of the first Galanda halls in Sharn. Its glory days are long past, but the young innkeeper, Irana D. Calanda, is determined to keep it alive. The Anvil is frequented by members of the Borromer Clan and is a good choice if one of the player characters has ties to this group. 3. The Desena Museum of Antiquities, University, Upper Menthise, is attached to the Library of Morgrave University. The museum has a remarkable collection of relics, but it's always looking for more. The curator is an elf named Eberron Senard. He might be a personal friend or a former teacher of one of the adventurers, or simply one who indulges their enthusiasm for antiquities and exotic locations. 4. Coldflame Keep, High Hope, Middle Northedge, is a garrison church dedicated to the Silver Flame. Once it supported a troop of Templars, but it was largely abandoned during the war and now maintains a minimal staff. The priest Mazantana is a faithful servant of the Silver Flame and will provide modest food and lodging to adventurers who are trying to make the city a better place. 5. The Red Hammer, Blackbones, the Cogs, caters to Warforged. It is run by 2 Warforged, the Envoy Blue and a Juggernaut named Crucible. Although this place is a haven for Warforged, other humanoids are allowed inside if their Warforged allies vouch for them. 6. A Gold Dragon Inn, described earlier in this chapter, operated by House Galanda and located in almost any part of Sharn. 7. The District of Fallen, Lower Dura, was abandoned after a floating tower fell on it. The adventurers might have taken over an old temple or tavern on the edge of the district. 8. An abandoned bell tower, which could be anywhere in the city. The spells that drove the massive mechanism failed long ago. 9. An abandoned library, damaged during the war or thought to be cursed or haunted. 10. A Shuttered Tavern, which is a failed business tied to the family of one of the adventurers. 11. If one of the adventurers is a noble, the character's base of operations is in the basement of the family estate or a tower apartment owned, but not currently used, by a dotty old aunt. 12. A ramshackle skycoach tethered to a condemned tower on the edge of the city. Lower Sharn Street Events Table. Roll a D100 for an event. 01-02. A minotaur holding a large piece of wood that could serve as a mall approaches you and politely asks if you have any copper to spare. 0304. Down a nearby alleyway, a dwarf punches a goblin in the stomach, then walks away laughing. 0508. A thin human child has been following you, but never gets too close. She keeps coughing, and you can see red marks on her neck that might be an aberrant dragon mark. 09-10. A human priest of Boldre wheels a cart of bread loaves through the city, giving food to the homeless. 11-15. A goblin pushing a cart of rusty weapons and broken clay pots calls out, "Real artifacts of ancient Dakon for sale, recovered from the ruins below." 16-18. A man dressed in the livery of House Vidalis descends a tower wall mounted on the back of a giant spider. He shouts, "Need a ride? No faster way to get to the middle and upper wards, reasonable rates." 19-22. An ogre eating several rats on a skewer spits out a rodent skull at your feet. 23-26. A playful stray mastiff wags its tail as it approaches, drops a very large egg at your feet, and looks up expectantly. 27-30. A small, jovial crowd gathers around a goblin and a kobold that are getting ready to have an arm wrestling match. A dwarf calls for the crowd to place their bets. 31-34. Three harpies fly through the streets singing a jolly drinking song. Each carries a bucket around her neck, and passers-by occasionally drop coins in one. 35-38. A human woman and a warforged with a silvered body are walking down the street together. They're too well dressed for this district and are looking around as if lost. 39-42. A Koravar half-elf in the robes of an oracle approaches and promises to give you the answer to all of life's problems for 42 copper crowns. 43-44. A human and an elf kiss passionately in an alley near your path. They notice you and quickly move apart. 45-46. Three shifter children run by you, yelling and chasing each other with wooden swords. They duck into a boarded-up building. 47-48. Stop her! She stole my necklace. A priest of the sovereign host cries, pointing to a grimy halfling clutching a silver chain and climbing up the side of a tower. 49-50. A young woman using a crutch and missing a leg approaches, asking if you can spare any coin to help a Brellish veteran of the last war. 51-52. Cries of alarm fill the street as a wooden crate from somewhere above crashes down into the lower city. 53-56. A splash of unidentified, putrid liquid falls from above, soaking you. 57-60. The generally unpleasant smell of the lower wards is pierced by the scent of something delicious being baked nearby. 61-62. A gnome sits at a table with a sign attached to it that reads, "I say Breland would have won the last war. Change my mind." 63-64. Two changelings sit on a bench in front of a tavern, sharing a flask. They take turns changing their forms into the people who enter and exit the building. 65-66. A human woman shouts at a group of Syrn refugees, "Go home. Stop taking our jobs. Let the Mournland have you." 67-68. A group of students from Morgrave University moves through the street, asking for directions to Dragonize. 69-72. You turn down an empty street. A door suddenly materializes on a nearby building that previously showed no entrances. 73-74. Faded graffiti on a wall reads, "Need someone knifed. Tarkinen's got you covered." 75-76. A crowd gathers around a kobold playing a pan flute and leading a group of rats in a merry dance. 77-80. Four orcs jab at an ochre jelly with long staffs, trying to herd the ewes into the sewers. 81-82. Several Syrn refugees are gathered in a circle, singing a haunting song. 83-84. An old goblin offers to pierce your ears or nose for 5 copper crowns. She claims, "It will be painless. I know magic." 85-86. A figure in red robes preaches, "The last war was not the last. As long as the monarchy rules in Breland, another war is inevitable. Rise up." 87-90. A member of the Sharn Watch looks uncomfortable as she wanders the street. It's clear she doesn't come down here often. 91-92. Two humans run into an alley, drawing daggers as they go. 93-94. Two drunken humans exit a tavern singing a Kanathi battle hymn. Another human shouts at them to shut up or get shut up. The drunken pair sings louder in response. 95-96. Two children reeking of sewage argue over who gets to wear a shiny helmet that sits on the ground between them. 97-00. You find a pamphlet on the ground advertising the Silvermist Theater. Someone has scrawled on it, "The real party is in the basement." Upper Sharn Street Events Table. Roll a D100 to determine event. 01-03. A group of adventurers approaches, telling you to move along and stop trying to steal their business. If the characters belong to the Deathgate Guild or the Clifftop Adventurers Guild, these could be members of the rival guild. 0406. Outside a House Kundarak bank, a human noble screams at a dragon-marked dwarf, "What do you mean it's lost?" 0709. A priest of Kalkorn preaches to a crowd, saying, "The best way to invest in yourself is to invest in your gods." 10-12. An elf riding a Pegasus with bulging saddlebags asks you for directions to the Aurora Gallery. 13-15. Two drunk dwarves pass a bottle of spirits back and forth and sing a bawdy song. Passers-by are mortified. 16-18. Two Callister play dragon chess at an outdoor table. They move pieces without touching them. 19-21. A halfling chef stands in a large skycoach that is equipped with a stove, oven, and wash basin. Several spectral hands prepare and plate food as the chef serves a party of smiling customers. 22-25. A harpy decked out in colorful ribbons flies overhead, calling, "Get the best deals on adventuring gear at Old Claggins in Clifftop." 26-29. Some Morgrave students follow their dwarf professor onto a lift as she says, "Next stop, the cogs." 30-32. An out-of-breath gnome carrying bagpipes asks you for directions to Kavera Concert Hall. 33-35. A flustered gnome carries a stack of papers taller than he is, unaware of the plume of smoke coming from inside a scroll case slung on his back. 36-38. You walk by a shirtless elf tattooed from head to waist with images of dragons battling each other. 39-40. A groomed hobgoblin wearing a jeweled vest approaches you and says, "Ah, adventurers. Any interest in securing some Dakoni relics for me?" 41-42. Someone has painted, "The crown dies with Borinal." Across the gates of a noble's mansion, a member of the Sharn Watch is talking to the household staff. 43-44. A magerite offers to shine your shoes instantly with magic for 2 gold Galifars, saying, "You can't be seen with those dirty things up here." 45-46. A human wearing the livery of House Vidali struggles to carry a 3-foot-tall speckled blue egg down the street. 47-48. An awesomer oracle approaches and promises to give you the answer to all the problems that ever existed for 42 gold Galifars. 49-51. A shifter with flowers in her hair and a wand in her hand offers to magically gild any item of clothing you wear for 20 gold Galifars. 52-54. 4 Warforged work together to operate an enormous Tarask puppet as publicity for a new play at the Art Temple. 55-57. A horrified crowd is gathered around a burning effigy of King Borinal. No one claims responsibility for the act. 58-60. A human noble is berating a Warforged servant for losing her invitation to the next Tang Gala. 61-63. A young noble proposes to his boyfriend in a beautiful garden on a tower balcony. Nearby, a changeling looks on in tears. 64-66. You walk down a path lined with trees on which are growing candy-coated apples. 67-70. Three children sparring with wooden swords played dangerously close to the edge of a bridge. 71-73. A Kalashtar on the street approaches you, saying, "I can help you talk with the dead. Is there anyone you miss?" 74-76. An artist offers to draw caricatures of everyone in your group at the same time by using several magically animated quills. 77-80. You approach a fresco painted on the ground that depicts King Borinal Erwinarn. As you get closer, the fresco speaks, delivering an inspiring line taken from one of the king's speeches. 81-82. A dragonborn standing near several sourceholds offers you a tour of Upper Sharn's most impressive mansions. 83-84. Two nobles, one Ondarian and one Brelish, heatedly debate which of their countries would have won the war had it been fought to a conclusion. 85-86. A gilded warforged plays a sad song on a trumpet, honoring those who fell during the last war. 87-88. A group of well-outfitted adventurers snicker and whisper to each other as you pass. 89-90. You turn a corner and notice a shifter who immediately puts her hands in her pockets and starts whistling, obviously trying to act inconspicuous. 91-92. A pseudo-dragon flies out of a nearby bush. As the playful creature licks your faces, you notice it wears a collar engraved with the letter M. 93-94. You walk past a placid pond in a small park filled with colorful fish. An attendant removes dead fish from the water with a net. 95-96. You come near a mansion, and an illusion of an old man dressed in noble finery appears. "Get off my lawn," the figure gripes. 97-98. An elf child with a fairy dragon on a leash walks toward you and asks if you'd like to touch the exotic pet. 99-00. You find a small brass key on the ground that glows blue whenever it is touched. Skyway Street Events Table. Roll a d12 to determine event. 1. A few gargoyles perch on a mansion's walls. They're seemingly there for security, but they offer lively commentary about everyone who passes by. 2. A noble with auburn hair held in a silver diadem holds a darkwood staff encrusted with dragon shards and taps it impatiently while waiting for a sky coach. 3. You pass by a hope well. Supposedly, any coins you throw in the well are gathered and transported down to help the troubled people of the lower wards. 4. Make way, make way. A boy clears a path for a jewel-encrusted warforged wearing a lavish fur cloak. 5. You come upon a fountain of cold fire. In the center, a brass dragon spits brilliant flames into the air, and they spill down and out into the surrounding pool. 6. A team of handlers from House Vidali's walk alongside a small gelatinous cube. "We're trying it out, seeing if it can help keep things clean," they say. 7. A magerate offers to use a simple charm to polish the coins in your purse for just 3 copper crowns. "We wouldn't want anyone here to get grime on their gloves from handling those filthy coins of yours from the lower wards." 8. A tour group pauses to marvel at a mansion. 9. A large statue commemorates Lord Dalian Ertine, a noble philanthropist lost at sea at the end of the last war. He holds a spyglass in one hand and a miniature dragon turtle in the other. 10. A warforged with roses twined around her limbs offers to sell you a bouquet for 5 silver sovereigns. 11. It starts to drizzle. A well-dressed half-elf glares at the sky and snaps his fingers. The rain immediately stops. 12. A member of the Sharn Watch stops you. "Can I help you? Are you sure you're in the right ward?" Sharn Heights. Sharn Heights are intersections of bridges and platforms in Sharn that make the perfect place for a meeting, theft, or assassination. The crisscrossing paths of Sharn Heights allow criminals to come and go in different directions, looking like normal passers-by as they trade information, cut purses, or throw people to their dooms. Sharn Heights features Map 4.11 shows a typical Sharn location that contains intersections of bridges and platforms. Each bridge is 20 feet higher on average than the one immediately below it. The bridges are connected to businesses and residences. The residences are usually locked, while most shops lock up at night. The taverns and gambling dens are open for business all day and well into the night. One of the bridges connects to a skycoach parking station, which houses several of those vehicles. Other bridges lead to an elevator, garden overlooks, and staircases that take pedestrians farther up and down into the city. Sharn Heights Adventures. Adventures in Sharn Heights are perfect for pulp action scenes. Narrow bridges, moving platforms, and great heights come together in a public place that's a perfect location for swashbuckling battles, tense hostage negotiations, and over-the-top heists. The Sharn Heights Adventures table offers reasons why your characters might need to visit such a location. In addition, the characters could meet with a Borromer Clan or House Tarkin patron in Sharn Heights. Sharn Heights Adventures Table. Roll a d4 for an adventure goal. 1 pose as House Tarkin operatives to capture a wanted criminal with an aberrant dragon mark. The criminal is waiting on a bridge for his House Tarkin escort to arrive. 2. Obtain a satchel of evidence obtained by a goblin who has infiltrated Dosk. The goblin, who is working with the Borromer Clan or the Sharn Watch to take down key Dosk operatives, is waiting on a bridge. 3. Break into a building connected to Sharn Heights to steal something valuable. 4. Stop a crooked Sharn Watch official who is trying to reach a skycoach and flee the city to escape arrest. Crime in Sharn. Crime is part of everyday life in Sharn, and just as in any other city, sometimes such acts are carried out by people who have no ties to organized crime. An upstanding citizen could be driven to murder by passion. A refugee could become a cutpurse out of desperation. The rowdy Brellish veterans who call themselves the Broken Bridge Brawlers don't think of themselves as criminals, and they have no connection to any larger organization. Any professional criminal in Sharn, however, is likely to be affiliated with one of 4 organizations. The Boromer Clan is the most entrenched and widespread of the 4, and has dominated the business of crime in Sharn for centuries. The group called Dosk is on the rise, directly challenging the Boromers. The Tyrants and House Tarkin are smaller organizations with more specialized areas of operation. These groups are summarized in the Criminal Organizations of Sharn table and described in the later sections that follow. Each of these organizations has a core of operatives and enterprises under the direct control of its leaders, but each also has a network of secondary relationships. For example, the Little Fingers are a group of pickpockets and cutpurses that work in the Bazaar of Middle Dura. They are directly tied to the Boromer family. But the master of the gang pays a tithe to the Boromers, and if the Boromers send word to them that certain targets are to be avoided, the Little Fingers do so. In return, the Boromers ensure that the Sharn Watch in Middle Dura largely leaves the Fingers alone. So although the Borromer Clan itself has a few hundred members, it has interaction with thousands of criminals throughout the city. Chapter 3 provides an overview of the 4 major criminal organizations and a body of information about them that's more or less common knowledge in Sharn. This section explores the roles that each one could play in a Sharn-based campaign. Although the powerful organizations in Sharn have a hand in most criminal activity, sometimes you might want an adventure to involve a smaller gang. The Street Gangs table presents a number of lesser criminal groups adventurers could tangle with. Narcotics in Sharn. From the owners of incense-clouded dens to fast-talking street dealers, many entrepreneurs, legitimate and otherwise, make a profitable business selling narcotics in Sharn. The following drugs are just 2 of the most notorious substances available in the city of Towers and beyond. Dragon's Blood. Introduced into Sharn by Dosk, Dragon's Blood is a potent and highly addictive stimulant. In addition to inducing euphoria, It can enhance spellcasting ability or even temporarily imbue a user with the ability to cast sorcerer spells. The drug's effects are potentially dangerous and always unpredictable. This isn't something a player character should want to use. Adventurers are more likely to interfere with Dosk smugglers or deal with an addict who accidentally casts a fireball in a crowded street. The specific effects of Dragon's Blood are up to you, but you can take inspiration from the Wild Magic Surge table in the player's handbook. Dream Lily. A psychoactive liquid that smells and tastes like your favorite beverage, Essence of Dream Lily is a Sarlumin opiate. First imported to help manage pain during the last war, it's now the most commonly abused substance in Sharn. Though Dream Lily isn't illegal if used for medicinal purposes, it's heavily taxed, and thus most Dream Lily is smuggled in and sold on the black market. Dream Lily dens can be found across the lower wards. Consuming Dream Lily causes disorienting euphoria and brings about remarkable resistance to pain. A creature under the effects of Dream Lily is poisoned for 1 hour. While poisoned in this way, the creature is immune to fear, and the first time it drops to 0 hit points without being killed outright, it drops to 1 hit point instead. A dose of Dream Lily costs around 1 GP, or up to 10 times that if purchased through legal channels. There are many varieties of the drug, however, and the duration or the price might vary accordingly. The 5 faces are changeling pickpockets who work middle menthies. The gremlins are gnomes and halflings who specialize in illusion magic. The little fingers are child pickpockets active in Middle Dura. Their leaders are adult halflings loosely allied with the Borromer Clan. The mourners are Siren veterans who present themselves as a vigilante militia that protects Siren refugees, but some say they're just pursuing selfish interests. Mutt are bugbears in Lower Dura who have been protecting Malian's Gate for decades. Recently, they've aligned with Dosk, but their focus is their home district. The quiet folk are goblins who live in the sewers below Tavik's Landing and avoid violence, using stealth and knowledge of the sewers to pull off their thievery. The red jackals are primarily shifters and half-orcs who live in the sewers below Menthies and clash with anyone who invades their territory. The Boromer Clan, the most powerful criminal organization in Sharn, started as a family of halfling immigrants from the Talenta Plains. Operating out of its headquarters and key holdings in the Little Plains district of Middle Menthies, the Borromer Clan controls gambling, smuggling, and theft in Sharn. Most of the city's burglars, pickpockets, and fences either work for or pay ties to the organization. The Borromer Clan's network of extortion, bribery, and blackmail extends from Lower Dura to Skyway. The Borromer's influence extends beyond criminal enterprises into many legitimate circles of power. Elira Borromer sits on the city council, and a number of other councilors are close allies of the clan. The family has ties by marriage to House Jarasco. A Borromer attends every Skyway party. The family owns tenements throughout Sharn and invests in shipping, storing both legal goods and contraband in many of the warehouses in Precarious and Cogsgate. In many districts, local officials and Sharn Watch officers have been taking bribes from the Borromers for generations. The criminal nature of the Borromer clan is an open secret, and in some districts the Borromers are seen as hometown heroes. They are immigrants who've made good, common people who've risen to rival the barons and kings. They give the people what they want, whether it's untaxed gambling, cheap spirits, or Dream Lily. The clan operates with a degree of impunity because its operatives adhere to an unspoken rule: whenever possible, criminal acts against individuals should target tourists and travelers. Borromer pickpockets don't prey on the people they see every day. Instead, they seek out the many strangers who move around the city all the time. The watch officer who turns a blind eye to a pickpocket thus feels justified, since it's not the citizens of Sharn that are victimized. Borromer's long-standing status at the head of Sharn's criminal enterprises has recently come under challenge. After nearly a decade of slow growth, the dromish mob known as Dosk has recently started targeting Borromer holdings. The Halfling clan hasn't faced such a serious threat before, and it's scrambling to figure out how to deal with Dosk's guerrilla tactics. Borromer Operations. The Boromer Clan has a hand in all types of crime in Sharn. Most Borromer leaders despise unnecessary violence, but the clan has a host of enforcers and a handful of capable assassins. The clan's web of extortion is so thoroughly woven into society that many residents simply consider it another form of tax. Borromer specializes in 3 fields of activity: gambling, smuggling, and thievery. Gambling isn't illegal in Sharn, but all legal games are taxed by the Brellish crown and are required to follow regulations that spoil the experience for many. Borromer's operations are cheaper to participate in and offer the lure of greater profits. Smuggling has become an increasingly important business since the last war disrupted many traditional lines of trade. The clan's primary import is the narcotic called Dream Lily, but the Borromers traffic in a wide range of goods, from arcane and alchemical weapons to foreign luxury items that have been made scarce by embargoes and sanctions. Under Boreanal's law, it's forbidden to sell Ondarian wine in Breland, so if you want the good stuff, you'll need to work with the Borromers. Borromer-sanctioned acts of thievery include the activities of the ubiquitous pickpockets that can be found across the city, as well as the well-planned jobs of professional burglars. As mentioned earlier, Borromer thieves focus their attention on visitors to Sharn, thus avoiding friction with local law enforcement when appropriate stolen goods are transported out of the city by the fences and porters that drive the clan smuggling operations. Boromer Clan NPC. The Boromer Clan employs people of all races, but most of the organization, and nearly all of its inner circle, are made up of halflings. Some of the organization's most important people are these. Seddon Boromer is the current patriarch of the family. He grew up in Lower Dura and worked as a thief and assassin there before taking over the organization. Mala Boromer di Jarasco is an heir of House Jarasco and the Boromer family matriarch. Her position in the family ensures that important members of the Boromer clan receive Jarasco healing services at no cost to them. Seddon reimburses Jarasco from the clan's treasury. Councillor Elira Boromer is the eldest daughter of Mala and Seddon and a member of the city council. The Borromer's enemies on the council have grown bolder in the face of increased Dosk attacks against the clan, and some of Elira's influence has eroded as a result. Halak Boromer is the family's chief enforcer. A recent immigrant from the Talenta Plains, Halak leads the Clawfoots, the Borromer's personal guard, and is an accomplished warrior. Ilsa Boromer is the family's leader in Khalistan. She is ruthless in protecting her family's interests. Castar, a gnome, is the lone non-halfling in the Borromer's inner circle. He serves as Seddon's chief advisor and the organization's intelligence expert. The family looks to Castar to come up with a plan to defeat Dosk, but so far none of his ideas have worked. Shady Nightclub. The Borromers control gambling dens and nightclubs throughout Sharn. The finer establishments are places for the Borromer clan to wine, dine, bribe, and extort the city's powerful elite. At the other end of the spectrum, the rundown gambling halls and dreamily dens in the poorer districts are places where those in the employ of the Borromers plan heists, store smuggled goods, hide bodies and wanted criminals, interrogate Dosk spies, make good on threats, and unwind. These places are public and expertly run by the city's most powerful criminals, so an openly violent approach to problem-solving in such a spot is likely to end in tragedy for the characters. When combat does occur in one of these nightclubs, it's usually because the instigators have brought enough strength of arms to take on the Borromers. Shady Nightclub features. The nightclub shown on map 4.12 could be tied to the Boromer clan, or it could be any Sharn nightclub you need it to be. Made to accommodate customers from halflings to ogres, the club's double doorways are 10 feet wide, and its ceilings are 15 feet tall. Hooks, shelves, handrails, and furniture are provided at 3 different levels and sizes. The club's main entrance opens into an entry vestibule. The attached cloakroom has a hidden door that leads to a secret room where criminal meetings and illegal activities take place. The casino floor in the nightclub has tables running games of chance, a bar, and a raised stage. Bathrooms, a kitchen, and private rooms for high roller games and more criminal meetings and illegal activities are accessible from the casino floor. Borromer's security and management offices are connected by a hallway to the casino floor, the secret meeting room, and a second secret area used to store illegal contraband or captives. Occupants of both offices can see into these attached areas by way of magic one-way mirrors. Shady Nightclub Adventures. The Shady Nightclub Adventures table offers reasons for the characters to enter one of these dangerous places. If the characters have a Borromer patron, that NPC could use a Shady Nightclub as a base of operations. Shady Nightclub Adventures table. Roll a d6 for an adventure goal. 1. Get accepted into a private high-stakes card game and try to win the grand prize. 2. Find out which Sharn Watch captain has a private meeting with a Boromer fence and steal whatever the captain is buying. 3. Track down a missing noble hunted by assassins. 4. Steal a hidden stash of Dream Lily. 5. Broker a deal with the Borromers on behalf of a city councilor who's too scared to face the family in person. 6. Find evidence that could be used to blackmail a member of a Dragonmarked house. Borromer Villains. With few exceptions, Borromer Villains shun violence and would prefer to bribe, deceive, or manipulate the characters rather than send a squad of goons to attack them. That said, any of these villains and their minions will respond in kind if they are attacked or threatened. Examples of Boromer Clan villains appear on the Boromer Clan Villains table. Borromer Villains table. Roll a d6 for a villain. 1. A halfling Dream Lily dealer, an excoriate of House Galanda, smooth talks new customers into sampling her wares. If pressed, she can call in favors from a number of dangerous clients. 2. A judge known as the Turnkey always rules in favor of Borromer Clan members. 3. A halfling pickpocket using alter self to pose as a child of another race plants contraband on people the Borromers are trying to frame. 4. A Borromer rogue has kidnapped the child of a strongly anti-Borromer city councilor. 5. A Kalisher psychic serves the clan by detecting thoughts that suggest possibilities for blackmail. What stray thought might they pick up from an adventurer? 6. A Borromer smuggler is bringing unstable explosives or an especially addictive form of Dream Lily into Sharn, and innocents are being hurt. Borromer Clan campaign themes. The true power of the Borromer Clan lies in its institutions. Watch officers who have been allied to the clan for generations, judges who are blackmailed into compliance, and officials who receive lucrative bribes in exchange for their cooperation. Adventurers who oppose the Borromers might discover that people they think of as friends and allies are in the pocket of the clan. The Borromers are villains in the noir tradition, and adventurers determined to tangle with them will be drawn down into the mud. The Boromer Clan could serve as a group patron for a party of adventurers, as described in Chapter 1. The Borromer Clan Assignments table provides goals for adventurers who are working with the clan, and the Crime Syndicate section of Chapter 1 includes additional ideas. Borromer Clan Assignments table. Roll a d6 for an assignment. 1. Find evidence of an affair between 2 members of different Dragonmarked houses. 2. Collect from a fence who is late with a payment. 3. Steal the bank records of a city councilor. 4. Convince a Sharn Watch captain to aggressively root out Dosk operatives. 5. Retrieve a package of Dream Lily that has gone astray. 6. Discover the location of a Dosk safe house. Borromer Clan Adventure Hooks. The Borromer Clan Adventure Hooks table presents ideas for additional adventures themed around the Borromer Clan. Borromer Clan Adventure Hooks table. Roll a d4 for an adventure hook. 1. Dosk forces capture Borromer family members who are visiting Sharn from the Talenta Plains. The Borromers offer a reward for the safe return of their family and a larger reward for the kidnappers' heads, leading to gang violence in the streets. 2. A beloved Sharn Watch captain who openly spoke out against the Borromer clan disappears. The Borromers claim they had nothing to do with it, but some Sharn Watch members use the incident as an excuse to go after the organization. 3. A changeling stole a smuggled artifact of great value from the Borromer clan. Borromer enforcers shake down people all over Sharn to find it, and clan leaders consider going to war with the Tyrants. 4. The Borromers stage a festival in Khalistan for Seddon's birthday. All of the family's allies will be there, creating opportunities for espionage and assassination. Dosk formed by monstrous immigrants from Droam, Dosk has been building its power in the Kyber's Gate and Malian's Gate districts of Sharn for the last decade. It is most infamous for its monstrous enforcers, but the organization also draws members from the destitute populace of Sharn, largely goblins and shifters, but also humans, dwarves, and any other humanoid who feels that the current system has failed them. Dosk makes its money through acts of violence, from mugging to armed robbery to outright pillaging. The group has diversified in recent years, building an extortion racket, threatening violence if tribute isn't paid, and entering into the drug trade, selling both dreamily and a mysterious substance called dragon's blood. From the outside, Dosk appears to be interested solely in fomenting violence and chaos. The monstrous nature of its members reinforces this impression. Most people consider the members of Dosk to be savage beasts. The truth is more complicated. The Droamites who make up the core of Dosk aren't merely criminals. They are elite soldiers of Droam working for Soracatra, and part of an operation that is taking root in larger cities across Khorvaire. The seemingly random attacks by Dosk are part of a larger plan that, if it succeeds, will eventually give Soracatra a foothold in the heart of Khorvaire. Over the last 2 years, the Dosk cell in Sharn has been waging a slowly escalating war against the holdings of the Borromer clan. The Borromers were surprised by the violence of these attacks and have suffered significant losses. Dosk prefers guerrilla tactics, using only as many combatants as necessary to get a job done, never staying in one place too long, and quickly retreating back to their turf. Though the Borromers still control much of criminal activity in the middle and upper parts of Sharn, Dosk is gaining ground in the lower level of the city and controls crime in the cogs. Dosk Operations. Violence and intimidation are Dosk's most used tools. Rather than using bribery, Dosk manipulates the Sharn Watch through displays of force and brutal reprisals against officers who dare to stand in the way. Coupled with the fact that Dosk primarily targets businesses with ties to the Borromers, this means that many of the watch officers of the lower wards will step aside and allow a Dosk raid to run its course. As Dosk has seized territory from the Boromer Clan, it has also begun taking over a few of the clan's traditional businesses. In addition to Dreamily, Dosk sells a highly addictive drug called dragon's blood. Dosk has another, perhaps surprising area of operation: religion. The organization has brought priests of the Dark Six to Sharn and has restored a ruined temple to the Dark Six in Kyber's Gate. Followers of the Dark Six have few other opportunities to practice their faith, and providing this new facility for them has made many allies for Dosk across the city. Dosk Npc. Dosk's lower ranks are made up of goblinoids, humans, shifters, and other humanoids recruited from the population of Sharn. The Droamish soldiers that make up the core of the organization include changelings, gnolls, harpies, ogres, minotaurs, medusas, trolls, and other monstrous beings. Basilisks, cockatrices, death dogs, displacer beasts, and similar monsters are kept by Dosk, though these creatures are usually used only within the cogs. Some of Dosk's most important members are these individuals. Sora Catra is the ultimate leader of Dosk, but as one of the daughters of Sora Kell, she remains in Droam. The hag stays in contact with all of her main subordinates by magic and keeps a detailed ledger of the group's activities. Kavala is a disciplined female Oni and the current leader of the Dosk cell in Sharn. She is the mastermind of the organization's machinations against the Borromer Clan, a scholar obsessed with studying Sharn's manifest zone, and a devoted servant of Sora Catra. The Oni wears a hag eye, see hags, in the monster manual that enables Sora Catra to both see and hear what occurs in her presence. Harash, a male Medusa, is Kavala's right hand. He is a specialist in diplomacy and intimidation whom Kavala trusts to monitor the members of Dosk and maintain morale. Ash is a female human priest of the shadow. As the most powerful and beloved of Dosk's priests, she runs the Temple of the Six. Some worry that Ash plans to challenge Kavala for leadership, which could cause a rift in the organization's membership. The Null Keshta commands a small unit of elite Null commandos. Disciplined and ruthless, these soldiers are often called upon to carry out retaliatory strikes against those who defy Dosk. Zarin, an elf werewolf, is a recent arrival to Sharn. He's one of the sons of the Dromish warlord Ziril. Zarin has come to the city with a small group of werats and werewolves, and has an agenda known only to himself and Sora Catra. Cog Hub Dosk members congregate in safe houses that are hard to find and easy to defend or escape from. The most popular gathering location is a Cog Hub. The dark, twisting halls of these underworld hotspots are familiar to Dosk members and confusing to their enemies. A Cog Hub's tight passages have plenty of choke points, forcing one-on-one confrontations in which Dosk's powerful monsters often have the advantage. Dosk also uses Cog Hubs to stash bodies, drugs, or prisoners. Trying to find a Dosk Hub in the Cogs is an adventure in itself. Most members are understandably tight-lipped about the location of their meeting and hiding places. Once the characters know a hub's location, they still must navigate the maze-like cogs to find the place. Cog Hub features. The Cog Hub shown in Map 4.13 could be a Dosk location, or it could be any Sharn underworld location you need it to be. Several crafted and natural labyrinthine passages, no more than 10 feet wide, lead to the main chamber. Many of these passages connect with stairs, ladders, and wells that lead higher or lower in the cogs, in addition to small chambers that could be ambush points, temporary quarters for criminals or squatters, or places to lay a trap or place an alarm trigger. These passages converge into a single large chamber that can hold a large group for meetings and serve as a temporary safe house or a place to stash contraband. When criminals occupy the area, at least one guard is always on duty, and typically there is one guard at every entrance to the chamber. Smaller rooms with heavy iron doors adjoin the largest chamber. These rooms can serve as holding cells for captives, vaults for valuables, or hiding spots. Cog Hub Adventures. The Cog Hub Adventures table offers reasons why your characters might need to visit such a location. In addition, the characters could meet with a Dosk patron in a Cog Hub. Cog Hub Adventures table. Roll a d10 for an adventure goal. 1. Obtain samples of dragon's blood hidden in the Cog Hub. 2. Infiltrate a Dosk meeting to discover the next Boromer Clan holding they plan to target. 3. Capture a Dosk Wurg and replace it with a Wurg loyal to the Boromer Clan. 4. Sniff out a traitor among Dosk lieutenants. 5. Escape the Cog Hub after being captured by Dosk forces. 6. Kick out squatters to get the Cog Hub ready to serve as a Dosk safe house. 7. Assault Dosk members meeting in the Cog Hub to disrupt the organization. 8. Defend a Dosk Cog Hub from a Boromer Clan attack. 9. Rescue an injured Dosk soldier hidden inside a Cog Hub, that has been taken over by the Borromer Clan. 10. Place a lethal trap in a cog hub to be triggered the next time Dosk forces enter the place. Dosk Villains. If Dosk Villains want something, they take it and they destroy anything that gets in their way. Though some members of the organization are brutes, many are more cunning than they appear. Often what seems to be random violence might be motivated by something other than greed and cruelty. Examples of Dosk Villains appear on the Dosk Villains table. Dosk Villains table. Roll a d6 for a villain. 1. Several harpies travel to the upper wards and use their luring songs to make rich people fall to their deaths. The harpies pick the corpses for valuables. 2. A pack of gnolls rampages through the lower wards, killing any halflings they come across. The gnolls take the halflings' ears as trophies. 3. A shifter priest of the Devourer wants to crash Skyway by performing a ritual to create a cataclysmic storm. Sacrifices to the Devourer fuels the ritual. 4. A changeling agent of Dosk seeks to frame the Tyrants for attacks on the Borromer Clan, driving a wedge between the two organizations. 5. A Wereat priest of the Mockery starts a cult in Lower Dura, teaching its followers the arts of assassination. 6. A gargoyle sharpshooter continually finds new vantage points in the upper wards from where it can assassinate targets in the middle and lower wards. Dosk campaign themes. On the surface, Dosk appear to be nothing more complicated than a gang of violent monsters wreaking havoc in the worst parts of the city. If you want, this can be the only role they play in a campaign, a ready source of sudden violence. Low-level characters might work with the Sharn Watch or the Boromer Clan to curtail Dosk muggings and raid dreamily houses. This crusade against Dosk will escalate as the adventurers become more powerful. Dosk will unleash ever more powerful monsters, and its forces might start targeting the adventurers' allies and loved ones. Those attacks won't end until the adventurers delve deep into the cogs and defeat Kavala herself. Another option is to delve deeper into the motives of Dosk, to explore the idea that these monsters aren't as savage as they appear. The elite members of Dosk are spies, soldiers, and saboteurs using their criminal activities as a cover for their true agenda. What is Sora Catra really trying to accomplish in Sharn? This question ties to how you decide to use the Daughters of Sora Kell, described earlier in this chapter. Do the daughters simply want to ravage their enemies, or, guided by the oracular visions of Sora Teresa, are they actually working towards some greater good? For instance, Dosk agents could break into the vaults and workshops of Dragonmarked houses and discover secret projects forbidden by the Treaty of Thronehold. They could clash with spies of foreign powers in Sharn, or pursue ancient artifacts in the ruins below the city to keep them out of others' hands. Dreamily is relatively safe, Dragon's Blood is not. Its effects are intentionally unpredictable, and you can take this idea wherever you like. Could drinking dragon's blood cause someone to develop a dragon mark? Could it turn addicts into crazed, draconic creatures? Is Dosk simply selling it to make money, or is the drug's introduction part of a grander plan? Neither the Boromer Clan or the Dragonmarked houses have been able to learn anything important about dragon's blood. Dosk can also serve as a group patron for a party of adventurers, as described in Chapter 1. The Dosk Assignments table provides objectives for adventurers working with the organization, and the discussion of crime syndicates in Chapter 1 includes additional ideas for parties with a crime syndicate patron. Sample: the Sharn Inquisitive. Monstrous deception. Monsters are infiltrating our city. Though the Sharn Watch acts as though Dosk is a problem only for Malian's Gate, and not a threat to law-abiding citizens, there is clear cunning in the criminal cabal's actions. Their recent attacks have targeted properties throughout the lower wards, all owned by a certain halfling family, as if Dosk were attempting a violent takeover of Sharn's underworld. Once these monsters control the city's crime, what will they do next? Dosk Assignments table. Roll a d6 for an assignment. 1. convince several new businesses in the lower wards to pay protection fees to Dosk. 2. Cause as much death and destruction as possible inside a Borromer-owned establishment. 3. Guard a priest of the Dark Six as he preaches the word of the mockery on the street. 4. Assassinate a member of the Borromer Clan. 5. Convince a dragon-marked noble to offer the house's services to Dosk for free. 6. Mug someone to steal a magic item in their possession. Dosk Adventure Hooks. The Dosk Adventure Hooks table presents ideas for additional adventures themed around Dosk. Dosk Adventure Hooks Table. Roll a d4 for an adventure hook. 1. Dosk Harpies raid a Skyway mansion and tear the place apart looking for a Borromer Clan member. 2. People who take dragon's blood begin turning to stone, and no one can figure out why. 3. Kavala announces a contest within the organization, promising a valuable magic item to whichever Dosk soldier kills the most members of the Borromer Clan. 4. Ash challenges Kavala for control of Dosk, creating a schism that erupts into a violent gang war. House Tarkin. Long ago, the Dragonmarked houses sought to exterminate the bearers of aberrant dragon marks. Today, those who carry aberrant dragon marks are still treated with fear and suspicion. During the last war, the King's Dark Lanterns of Brelin trained a team of covert operatives who all bore aberrant marks. Considered expendable, this group was sent on one suicide mission after another. After half its members died in the field, the survivors turned on their masters. 6 years ago, they fled to Sharn and founded House Tarkin. The group takes its name from Lord Hollis Tarkin, who fought the Dragonmarked houses long ago and used his aberrant dragon mark to destroy Old Sharn. The smallest of the 4 criminal organizations described here, House Tarkin has no interest in claiming territory or dominating the criminal underworld. The house takes neither side in the war between the Boromer Clan and Dosk, and it will not assassinate high-ranking members of either organization. In other matters, it sells its services to all who have the gold to pay for them. House Tarkin's top priority is using its wealth to protect, train, and care for people who have aberrant marks. The leaders of the house are pragmatists and soldiers, and they train their recruits to be warriors and thieves. Despite its name, House Tarkin is not a dragon-marked house. It has taken the name to mock its enemies, and it doesn't have the recognition, power, or resources of a dragon-marked house. In fact, many members of House Tarkin hate the dragon-marked houses for being prejudiced against their kind and fear that they will instigate a second purge of aberrant marks. Others are more idealistic and see the growing power of the houses as a threat to all of the nations of Corvair. Sample: The Voice of Breland. Assassins on the loose. It is common knowledge that those with aberrant marks can't be trusted. It's not their fault. They're touched by Kyber, and the dragon below twists their minds. All aberrants will eventually become killers. And though I can see the appeal in using these creatures as weapons against our enemies, how could we bring such vipers into our midst? According to a high-ranking source in the King's Citadel, this secret operation predictably ended in disaster. After a few missions, the strike force slew their handlers and deserted, disappearing into the criminal underworld. They could be anywhere. There can be no clearer sign that it's time to bring down the monarchy and institute a government that is chosen by and answerable to the common people. House Tarkin Operations. House Tarkin provides 2 basic services to clients: theft and murder. Fees for jobs are based on the task's complexity and riskiness. A simple cut-purse contract costs far less than the assassination of a Sharn Watch captain in Skyway. What differentiates the assassins of House Tarkin from those of House Firelin and Thirani is their accessibility. The Dragonmarked houses sell their services only to a select list of wealthy and powerful clients, and they can pursue contracts anywhere in Corvair. Conversely, anyone with enough gold can hire House Tarkin's assassins, but they take jobs only within Sharn. House Tarkin NPC. Because House Tarkin helps all those who have aberrant dragon marks, the organization has allies across a wide range of society, from beggars to nobles. Some of the organization's most important people are these. Thora, a female human, has the ability to sense mystical energies, a gift that enables her to identify others with aberrant marks. She founded the organization and serves as its leader. While she uses the name Thora Tarkin among her compatriots, she has established herself as Thora Tavern among the wealthy elite of Sharn and has cultivated relationships with many influential people. Rotting Baal is one of Thora's most trusted lieutenants. A male human, Baal was part of the original squad of aberrant commandos. He's an exceptional martial artist whose skills are enhanced by his mark. Z is a female halfling who has the power to speak to and control vermin. Though she's no warrior, her gift helps the house gather information. House Tarkin Villains. Some House Tarkin villains are obsessed with bringing down the dragon-marked houses. Others are willing to take innocent lives if doing so means saving one person with an aberrant mark. Sample villains appear on the House Tarkin Villains table. House Tarkin Villains table. Roll a d4 to determine villain. 1. A member of House Tarkin murders members of dragon-marked houses, reducing her victims to smoldering piles of ash. 2. Driven mad by his aberrant dragon mark, a dwarf becomes obsessed with destroying Sharn in the same manner that Hollis Tarkin collapsed Old Sharn. 3. A House Tarkin half-elf kidnaps children with aberrant marks, believing the organization is better suited to bring up the children than their parents. 4. A House Tarkin mage starts drinking the blood of dragon-marked nobles, believing it will increase the strength of his aberrant mark. House Tarkin campaign themes. As assassins for hire, the members of House Tarkin can appear in a campaign as agents of other enemies of the adventurers, but they can also play a central role in a campaign. To use House Tarkin as a recurring villain, you can stress its ruthlessness and emphasize its hatred of the dragon-marked houses. If any of the adventurers have ties to one of the houses, this confrontation could begin with a number of small attacks against the adventurer or their friends. Over time, these actions could escalate. In addition, you could build a story around Thora Tarkin's quest to discover the secrets of aberrant dragon marks. Long ago, Hollis Tarkin and the Lady of the Plague possessed marks so powerful that they could destroy cities. Can Thora find a way to amplify her own power in the ruins of Old Sharn? If one or more of the adventurers has an aberrant dragon mark, House Tarkin can also serve as a group patron for a party of adventurers, as described in Chapter 1. The House Tarkin Assignments table provides hooks for adventurers who are working with the organization, and the discussion of crime syndicates in Chapter 1 includes additional ideas. House Tarkin Assignments table. Roll a d4 for an assignment. 1. Steal a satchel full of research on the War of the Mark, carried by a wizard who works at Morgrave University. 2. Kill a Kanathi warlord who is visiting Sharn and make it look like an accident. 3. Kill a target before she signs her last will and testament to assign her property to a new heir. 4. Rescue a dreamily dealer with an aberrant mark who has been captured by the Sharn Watch. House Tarkin Adventure Hooks. The House Tarkin Adventure Hooks table presents ideas for adventures themed around House Tarkin. House Tarkin Adventure Hooks table. Roll a d4 for an adventure hook. 1. House Tarkin disturbed the dead during an expedition to Old Sharn, causing undead to terrorize the city above. 2. House Tarkin declares war on the dragon-marked houses in Sharn and begins killing nobles in the streets. Many of the house's businesses in the city are shut down as fear spreads. 3. A victim who was killed by a House Tarkin assassin returns as an undead that tries to kill anyone who bears an aberrant mark. 4. House Tarkin steals a key that can disable a ticking time bomb created by an artificer. The Tyrants, No criminal guild in Sharn is more shrouded in mystery than the Tyrants. This organization of changelings deals in secrets and lies, selling forgeries, running long cons, and treating identities as a commodity. The Tyrants have spies throughout the city, even in places where they have no current plans or contracts. The organization gathers as many secrets as possible, then sells that information to the highest bidder, uses it for blackmail, or stores it for a time when it becomes useful. The Tyrants have been operating in Sharn for over 300 years from a base of operations in the Dragonized district in Lower Tavix Landing. They have agents spread across the city. A beggar, a bartender, or a courtier could actually be a persona crafted by a tyrant changeling. The Tyrants have a long-standing truce with the Borromer Clan and don't take a side in the halfling family's conflict with Dosk. Tyrants Operations. The Tyrants are master grifters, conducting a host of short and long cons throughout the city. Much like the Boromer Clan, they have a general live and let-live relationship with the Sharn Watch. As long as the Tyrants focus their crimes on foreigners and tourists, and donate generously to the local watch, the officers will look the other way. In addition to pursuing their own schemes for gold, tyrant charlatans offer a host of services to their clients. They can help to frame innocents for crimes or make it possible for a criminal to seem to be in two places at once, providing an ironclad alibi. The finest forgers in the city are in the ranks of the Tyrants, capable of duplicating anything from identification papers to works of art. Magerites among the Tyrants have the ability to permanently alter someone's appearance. First and foremost, the Tyrants deal in information. They hoard secrets, and for the right price, they can be persuaded to share what they know. Occasionally, a tyrant approaches someone with an offer of information in exchange for gold. Tyrants NPC. Members of the Tyrants have a loose definition of identity. The majority of the members are changelings. They often maintain multiple identities, and a particular identity might be shared among a group of changelings. A captain in the Sharn Watch who is actually an agent of the Tyrants might be portrayed by a member of the Tyrants' inner circle in the morning, when he has to interact with a wide range of people. But when he goes off duty in the evening and keeping up the identity is an easier task, the role might be taken over by a young recruit. The following individuals are some of the Tyrants' most important identities. AKD, often called Tyrant 1, guides the inner circle of changelings that leads the organization. Kilk is the city councilor for Lower Tavix Landing and is a fictional persona created by the Tyrants, played by a variety of changelings at different times. The Spider is a changeling information broker who owns a cosmetics store called Honest Faces in the Dragonized district. This location is a common destination for people who want to purchase secrets from the Tyrants. Though the Spider often sells secrets for gold, sometimes it will trade its knowledge only for services or other secrets. Tyrants Villains. The Tyrants are a covert force. They operate in the shadows, trade identities, and like to manipulate their enemies into fighting each other. Tyrant Villains rarely show their true faces. Examples of Tyrants Villains appear on the Tyrants Villains table. Tyrants Villains table. Roll a d6 to determine villain. 1. A changeling rogue infiltrates adventuring parties to steal their magic items. 2. A cabal of changelings shares an identity as a Sharn Watch captain. They use the disguise to free criminals from prison. 3. A changeling assassin murders members of the Borromer Clan, Dosk, and House Tarkin, then takes on the identities of its victims. 4. A changeling bard gathers incriminating information about members of the King's Dark Lanterns, then blackmails them. 5. A Brellish changeling veteran of the last war was distrusted by fellow soldiers because of the Shapechanger's heritage. The veteran now exposes those soldiers' darkest secrets to their friends, families, and employers. 6. A changeling mage masquerades as a priest of the Silver Flame and uses spells to send the religion's faithful signs from Tiramirn that encourage them to spy, steal, and kill for the Tyrants. Tyrants campaign themes. The primary theme of the Tyrants is mystery. In dealing with the Tyrants, there is always a question of what is real and what the true objective actually is. With the Tyrants, anything could be a long con, and both allies and enemies may not be who they appear to be. The Tyrants have 3 objectives: acquiring gold, gathering secrets, and protecting the changelings of Sharn. In working the Tyrants into a campaign, the first question is which of these objectives will take precedence. Are they primarily grifters, trying to squeeze as much profit as possible out of the situation? Are they mainly working to gather secrets and to use those secrets to manipulate others? Or are they most concerned with helping other changelings, who are often with the objects of fear and suspicion? The Tyrants offer an easy way to provide adventurers with information. The Spider can be a strong ally for adventurers, and you can always arrange for an agent of the Tyrants to step out of the shadows with and offer to sell a secret. The Tyrants could also have a long-term sinister agenda, something they've been working on for generations, which is only coming to fruition now. Do they want to replace the entire city council of Sharn, or are their aspirations even higher than that? In a campaign that examines this idea, the Tyrants might impersonate the patrons and allies of the adventurers, thereby tricking them into carrying out questionable tasks. The Tyrants can also serve as a group patron for a party of adventurers, as described in Chapter 1, especially if the party includes 1 or more changelings. The Tyrants Assignments table provides hooks for adventurers working with the organization, and the discussion of crime syndicates in Chapter 1 includes additional ideas. Tyrants Assignments. Roll a d6 for an assignment. 1. Kill an important figure without leaving evidence behind so a member of the Tyrants can replace the target. 2. Steal a formal badge of office or uniform for a member of the Tyrants to use as part of an assumed identity. 3. Act as bodyguards for a member of the Tyrants who is pretending to be an important figure. 4. Assume new identities to infiltrate the Sharn Watch and steal criminal records. 5. Use incriminating information to blackmail a member of the city council. 6. Find evidence that can be used to blackmail a member of a Dragonmarked house. Tyrants Adventure Hooks. The Tyrants Adventure Hooks table presents ideas for additional adventures themed around the Tyrants. Tyrants Adventure Hooks table. Roll a d6 for an adventure hook. 1. A friendly NPC dies in combat. The corpse reveals its true form to be that of a changeling. 2. A list of Tyrants' agents and their identities exists somewhere in Sharn. Every legitimate and criminal organization in the city competes to find it. 3. The Sharn Inquisitive publishes an anonymous article accusing several members of the Sharn Watch, the City Council, and the Dragonmarked houses of being changeling members of the Tyrants. The accused individuals vehemently deny the claims. 4. A shamed Brelish general of the last war goes on a killing spree against changelings, claiming the Tyrants ruined his life by exposing his extramarital affair. 5. A Sharn Watch captain being blackmailed by the Tyrants has had enough. He publicly exposes his incriminating secrets, then offers a reward for information concerning the organization. 6. Roll on another organization's Adventure Hooks table. The Tyrants are secretly involved in the situation. Sharn Watch. A common viewpoint among the citizens of Sharn is that in the upper wards, the Sharn Watch works for the wealthy. In the middle wards, it works for the Borromer Clan. And in the lower wards, it doesn't work at all. This assessment is close enough to the truth. There's an important undercurrent in the situation, however. Although most officers of the Watch take bribes, that doesn't mean all of them don't care about their city and won't try to keep their communities safe. They do so because they see their benefactors as being an important part of the continued health of their community. For instance, those officers who take gold from the Borromer Clan believe that the Borromers help keep the city running and give the people what they want. But if some strangers in town break the law, they're just troublemakers who deserve to be run in. As another example, the guards of the Dura Bazaar have an understanding with the gang of pickpockets known as the Little Fingers. As long as the thieves target only tourists and foreigners, the watch will dismiss any charges brought against them. Why should an officer of the Sharn Watch care if some Ondarian with more gold than sense gets robbed? But if the Little Fingers pick on a local, they're asking for trouble. The relationship works both ways. The pickpockets are privy to things the watch officers aren't, and they often warn the watch about suspicious people or activities they witness. Watch officers do exist who are entirely crooked and care nothing for the law. At the other extreme, some officers are entirely honorable and place the law above all else, and most of those are willing to risk their lives to save an innocent bystander from a rampaging Dosk troll. But most members of the Watch are pragmatists who put the needs of their clients uppermost, the needs of the citizenry second, and generally don't take action against locals. The upshot of all this is that the Watch's response to a crime can vary significantly depending on the nature of the crime and where it's committed. As a rule, when a crime is committed in Skyway, any of the upper or middle wards, Lower Central, Lower Tavix Landing, or Precarious, members of the Watch arrive to intervene and investigate as soon as possible. In Cliffside, Lower Menthise, and Lower North Edge, the few Watch members in these locations address crimes in order of priority. In Lower Dura and the Cogs, the Watch's response is typically very slow. Sharn Watch Divisions. The discussion above primarily concerns the rank and file of the Sharn Watch, the guards who walk the streets day in and day out, and the officers who supervise them. The Watch also includes a few special divisions that could cross the paths of the adventurers. The Blackened Book is an elite corps of abjurers and diviners, charged with investigating and containing magical threats. These wizards are highly dedicated to their work and their city, and generally don't take bribes. It's up to the higher-ups, however, to decide what missions to assign to the Blackened Book. If there's a case that a noble doesn't want investigated, it probably won't be. The Guardians of the Gate came into being during the last war to monitor the activities of foreign nationals and immigrants. Their duties have expanded since the surge of refugees into Sharn following the Morning, and the Guardians of the Gate closely supervise the district of High Walls. The Guardians are chosen from among the best soldiers of the Watch and are devoted to their city. Many of them, however, place the safety of the city ahead of strict adherence to the law, and complaints are raised against them from time to time for unnecessary violence against refugees. The Recloak Battalion is an exceptional unit of soldiers that is called upon if a situation calls for extreme military force. The Recloaks are heroes of the last war, and now that the fighting is over, most of them don't appreciate being used as local police. The Recloaks are absolutely faithful to Breland. They are willing to lay down their lives in the service of their nation. Trying to bribe a Recloak is a good way to lose a hand. Like the Blackened Book, however, the Recloaks are elite troops that act only when they're mustered by a captain of the Watch. Typically, they won't be asked to respond to a situation if it's not in the interests of the Borromer Clan. The Recloak Battalion is described in more detail in Chapter 3. Sharn Watch Npc. The Sharn Watch includes people from all walks of life, veterans of the last war, retired adventurers, lifelong residents of the city, and immigrants who have become Brellish citizens. You can select from or roll on the Sharn Watch races and Sharn Watch personalities tables to generate a Watch NPC. There is a 75% chance the NPC is taking bribes from the Borromer Clan or another wealthy patron. This doesn't necessarily mean that the officer is willing to take a bribe from one of the adventurers. Some of the Sharn Watch's most important people are as follows. Lord Commander Ian Erdelan is a male human in charge of the Sharn Watch. As long as the city's wealthy elite are content to keep Ian in power, he does little more than maintain the status quo. Commander Lion Halamer is a male halfling who leads the garrison in the Daggerwatch district in Upper Dura. The Borromer Clan bribes Lion to make sure the watch is away from the scene during their criminal activities. The Borromers are pressuring Lion to crack down on Dosk, but he has no desire to put his officers in danger unnecessarily. Commander Baloo Yorgan is a male dwarf who leads the Sword Point garrison in Middle Central. He does his best to serve the interests of the nobles and wealthy patrons in the Central Plateau, and as a result these wards are among the safest in Sharn. But Yorgan's loyalties are first and foremost to his purse, and the troops under his command serve whoever's paying the most. Commander Selena Castle is a female elf who runs the Warden Towers garrison in Middle Menthise. Over a century of service, she has woven a net of graft and extortion across Menthise Plateau. She looks after those who pay their dues. Her mother was driven from House Fireland when she developed an aberrant dragon mark. Because of that treatment, Selena harbors deep resentment for the dragon-marked houses and will occasionally take actions to inconvenience them. Thora Tavern of House Tarkin is working to strengthen her relationship with Commander Castle. Commander Iana Erdelan is a female human who commands the Black Arch garrison in Lower Tavik's Landing. The daughter of the Lord Commander, Iana is idealistic and honorable. She fights for the good of the common people. If the adventurers need an honest ally in the Watch, Iana is perhaps their best hope. Despite her father's best efforts to keep her from getting entangled in the criminal underworld, her actions have won her no friends among Sharn's crime lords, and her life could be in danger despite her parentage. Lady Warden Mara Erdelan, a distant relative of the Lord Commander, leads the Blackened Book. A gifted diviner, Mara is a highly effective leader. What none know is that she's also an agent of the Dreaming Dark. 5 years ago, a Calorak quarry, see Chapter 6, named Turashana implanted a mind seed in her thoughts. Mara continues to do her job while concealing any evidence of the Dreaming Dark schemes. Captain Daja Brell is a female human who commands the Guardians of the Gate. Daja firmly believes that the Guardians are all that stands between order and chaos in Sharn, and she acts with unbridled force if she believes a group or an individual threatens the city. Captain Condon Dahl is a male dwarf who leads the Red Cloak Battalion. Condon is a local legend who served in the Brellish army throughout the last war. He was knighted by the last king of Galifar and swore an oath to the first queen of Breland. He enjoys drinking and gambling. He takes discipline seriously, though, and expects his soldiers to show complete loyalty to their country and its king. Because of his experiences in the war, he has a deep dislike for Thrains and followers of the Silver Flame, but he rarely lets these feelings interfere with his duties. Sample, the Sharn Inquisitive. A life of watchful service. Brellish folk often forget that the Guardians of the Gate have a civilian branch that handles administrative issues and special customs investigations. Tethan Oler has led that arm of the Sharn Watch for more than a decade. Many immigrants owe their safe and comfortable lives in our city to this man, but claims have surfaced recently charging him with corruption, saying that he took money from immigrants in exchange for a faster path into Sharn. Oler has refuted those claims with this statement. Look at the lower wards to see the vast number of poor immigrants the gate allows to enter in the city. Those with wealth tend to be more responsible and quicker to put their paperwork together, but none with worthy cause to be here are barred. Sharn Watch Races Table. Roll a d20 for race. 1. Changeling 2-4. Dwarf 5-6. Elf 7. Gnome 8-9. Half-elf 10-11. Half-orc 12-13. Halfling 14-16. Human 17. Callister 18. Shifter 19-20. Warforge. Sharn Watch Personalities Table. Roll a d10 for personality. 1. Disgruntled veteran of the last war who has seen everything too. Lifelong Sharn resident who loves discussing rumors and debating the city's best haunts. 3. Layabout who tries to do as little work as possible. 4. Eternal optimist who encourages victims of crime to have hope and look on the bright side. 5. Investigator who loves to get to the bottom of a mystery. 6. Rookie with no experience in facing danger who is a bundle of nerves. 7. Brawny meathead who believes all problems can be solved with force. 8. Greedy opportunist who's always angling for a bribe. 9. Uptight perfectionist who appears to do everything by the book. 10. Unfriendly interrogator who assumes everyone spills their secrets to the tyrants. Watch station. Sharn Watch stations are located throughout the city. The largest are the garrison posts like Daggerwatch and Sword Point. Smaller stations in various places are used to hold criminals, dispatch patrols, and take care of day-to-day business. A typical Sharn Watch station has 2 well-guarded entrances. One is connected to a main vestibule, where an officer in a security room with a magically reinforced window signs visitors in and confiscates their spell components, spellcasting focuses, and weapons. The other entrance is a large barred and warded door that leads to the garage, which holds skycoaches and sorcells. Both of these areas are connected to the station's bullpen by way of locked and warded doors. The Watch Station Adventures table offers reasons why the characters might need to visit or break into such a location. Watch Station Adventures table. Roll a d6 for an adventure goal. 1. Destroy evidence of a crime that's being stored in a watch station or plant evidence in a watch station to frame someone for a crime. 2. Learn which members of a station's crew are on the payroll of a criminal organization. 3. Ensure the station's watch officers are indisposed during an upcoming crime spree. 4. Help defend a watch station from a siege. 5. Free someone being held at a watch station. 6. Steal uniforms from a watch station. Sharn Watch Villains. Corrupt or extremist members of the Sharn Watch are villains of a special sort. Legitimate authority figures who have access to the city's law enforcement resources. The protections these villains enjoy often call for drastic measures to stop them, which the characters might be labeled as criminals themselves and might have to go underground to avoid arrest or harassment. Examples of Sharn Watch Villains appear on the Sharn Watch Villains table. Sharn Watch Villains. Roll a d6 for a villain. 1. A dwarf arrests random halflings on the streets in the lower wards and allows Dosk agents to interrogate and torture them. 2. A Brellish veteran of the last war arrests and murders innocent Syrran refugees, claiming each time that the victim tried to attack him. 3. A changeling investigator works for the Tyrants and pins unsolved crimes on other Sharn Watch members who interfere with the Tyrants' business. 4. A half-elf works her way through the ranks of the Sharn Watch by assassinating her superiors, but making it look like they died in the line of duty. 5. An elf in the lower wards comes to the aid of only those who pay a monthly protection fee. 6. A blackened book mage confiscates magic items from others to auction off to criminals. Sharn Watch campaign themes. If you want to make the Sharn Watch a significant part of the campaign, you can develop a story for a particular commander. Lion Halamer is the primary agent of the Borromer Clan, and if the adventurers are fighting the clan, any interaction with the Watch can ultimately come to Lion's attention, with his corruption slowly becoming more and more evident. If the characters oppose House Tarkin, it could be Commander Kazil who keeps interfering with their investigations and placing obstacles in their way. Can the adventurers find a way to remove their rival from power? Another option is to focus a story on Commander Iana and her efforts to purge corruption from the Watch. A chance encounter could bring the two together. Perhaps the adventurers are on the scene when Iana is targeted by assassins. Iana could call on the adventurers to investigate corruption and to deal with officers who are breaking their oaths. How deep are they willing to go? If the adventurers do form an alliance with a watch officer, you can use the Sharn Watch Assignments table to create adventure hooks for parties and side quests for individual characters, cases their ally doesn't trust the Watch regulars to handle fairly. Sharn Watch Assignments. Roll a d8 for an assignment. 1. Solve a murder that occurred in Skyway. 2. Find a Dreamlily Den and arrest the place's owner and its supplier. 3. Protect an ambassador from Sarlona who is joining a Morgrave University expedition to the Cogs. 4. Monitor the Lyrander Tower airship dock for a specific criminal reportedly trying to leave the city. 5. Apprehend a war criminal rumored to be arriving in Sharn by lightning rail, and deliver the criminal to the nearest watch station. 6. Take a visiting dignitary on a tour of the city and keep them happy. 7. Venture into the bowels of the city to find a wanted terrorist who has kidnapped a Magerite and stolen the parts needed to build an explosive device. 8. Handle a prisoner exchange. 1 captured criminal for 1 captured Sharn Watch officer. Sharn Watch Adventure Hooks. The Sharn Watch Adventure Hooks table presents ideas for additional adventures themed around the Sharn Watch. Sharn Watch Adventure Hooks table. Roll a d4 for an adventure hook. 1. The Sharn Watch cracks down on Dosk, which leads to violent confrontations in the city's lower wards. 2. The Sharn Inquisitive publishes an article claiming that changelings of the Tyrants have stolen the identities of many watch officers, leading to citywide distrust of the organization. 3. After a Thrain immigrant opens a sealed entrance to Old Sharn's ruins, the Guardians of the Gate do not allow anyone in or out of Sharn until the immigrant is found and the entrance is resealed. 4. Agents of the Blackened Book find scrying sensors in Sharn Watch stations throughout the city.